Let me read to you a passage from the 16th chapter of St. Mark's Gospel, verses 9 to 15. It's the Gospel for Friday of the Octave of Easter, Friday following Easter Sunday. Mark writes, Mark writes, when Jesus had risen, early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had driven 7 demons. She went and told his companions who were mourning and weeping. When they heard he was alive and had been seen by her, they did not believe. After this, he appeared in another form to 2 of them, walking along on their way to the country. They returned and told the others, but they did not believe them either. But later, as the 11 were at table, he appeared to them and rebuked them for their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they had not believed those who saw him after he had been raised. He said to them, "Go into the whole world and proclaim the gospel to every creature." That's from the Gospel of St. Mark, chapter 16, verses 9 to 15. What does that passage suggest to us? Well, it would be an interesting exercise to investigate whether at the origins of any particular religion, I repeat, at its very origins, there was a stipulation to bring the religion to every single person in the world. I'm not aware that, for instance, Zoroaster, nor Buddha, nor Muhammad, nor Confucius, for instance, embarked on such a mission at the very beginning. My impression is that in those cases where a universal or a universalist impulse occurred, it was a gradual development. Whether that is correct or not, the case is certainly different with revealed religion. Abraham was told by God that through him all the tribes of the earth would be blessed. That's in Genesis 12. And the fulfillment of this is seen in the risen Jesus. The Gospels indicate that as soon as Christ had risen from the dead, he entrusted a universal mission to his disciples. It was an essential part of the package of Christianity right from the beginning. Christ did not simply rise from the dead and then rejoice at his reunion with his disciples, exhorting them to be faithful to all he had taught them, and then, as if that was all there was to it. No, he immediately gave them what was humanly an impossible task, that of bringing his person and his teaching to every person in the world. Read in today's Gospel. He said to them, "Go into the whole world and proclaim the gospel to every creature." They were to make disciples of all the nations. The whole world was to be brought to acknowledge the risen Jesus as Lord and to live accordingly. Very clearly, this apostolic spirit, this universalism, was an essential element in being a disciple of the risen Jesus. Everyone who comes to belief in Jesus receives his command to bring the news of him as having risen from the dead, with all that this implies, to others. But from the beginning too, there was the issue of unbelief. Our Lord's very disciples did not believe the testimony of those who had seen and spoken with him. our Gospel of today refers to his appearing to Mary Magdalene, described more fully in, say, St. John's Gospel, and how she went to the others to tell them that he was alive and that she had seen him. But, we read, when they heard that he was alive and had been seen by her, they did not believe. The same thing occurred again, for our text tells us that after this he appeared in another form to two of them walking along their way to the country. They returned and told the others, but they did not believe them either. Now, when we read this, we moderns may be inclined to think that all this skepticism was natural and even healthy, and that the modern reluctance to believe the Gospel accounts, particularly of the resurrection, is to be expected of any careful thinker. But what was our Lord's reaction to their refusal to believe the testimony of those who had seen him? Did he think it was a natural and even commendable caution, adhering possibly excited and unbalanced imaginings? What does our text tell us? It says, "But later, as the 11 were at table, he appeared to them and rebuked them for their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they had not believed those who saw him after he had been raised." So behind the unbelief of the disciples of our Lord himself was a hardness of heart. Our Lord does not say bad will. A hardness of heart that was blameworthy. Our Lord was not pleased by their refusal to believe those who had seen him and who had brought to them the news of it. We should bear this in mind. Let us recognize within ourselves a hardness of heart that can impede a full life of faith, which is the foundation of the Christian life. Let us be fully aware of the world's propensity to refuse belief in the testimony of the Church, and let us bear witness nevertheless to the risen Jesus in our daily lives. It is an essential part of the mission and the life of being a member of the Church and of being a disciple of Christ.